South of Midnight is the perfect Xbox Game Pass type of game. While I think it's well worth the $40 Xbox Game Studios is asking for over on Steam, South of Midnight was crafted in a lab to fit the bill of a subscription service. Just long enough to entertain the audience for maybe a month of sporadic game time to let the next billing cycle hit their bank account. Right out the gate, I want to say that I really enjoyed this game. None of what I just said is necessarily a negative thing, but it is a shame that one of the ways that I wanted to start this video was by saying, hey, not every single game has to be an 8 out of 10. So real quick, what is South of Midnight? In brief, it's a Mississippi Rivercore themed action-adventure game with a deeply personal narrative and platforming traversal mechanics. Basically think Darksiders without the puzzles or backtracking, or maybe a really linear Fable or something. Before we start hating on some parts of this game, I want to start by mentioning that there are excellent aspects to this game, so stay tuned for that. But before that, I'm going to ask you to hit that like and subscribe as we dive into South of Midnight. First off, the story. I won't lie, the first impression of our main character Hazel wasn't too great. Her relationship with her mom felt super forced and unnecessarily hostile, but really fast was that resolved. We open as a hurricane hits us, and while I don't exactly recall if they ever say where we are, it's easy to deduce that we're near the Mississippi River in Louisiana, since we're getting hit with this hurricane. As we needlessly get pissy with our mom and we leave the house, we watch it get swept into the nearby river, and our tutorial descends upon us. I won't lie, this chase down the river trying to get to our house was an excellent opening that hooked me, despite the introductory moments not really selling it for me. We failed to catch our mom, but as we try to do so, we begin to notice weird things like how we can come back from the dead and there are giant eldritch spider monsters walking around. As we begin our journey to find our mom properly, the game introduces us to our magical abilities as we are unceremoniously named a Weaver. Basically, a magical girl who can see the strands of the fabric of reality and bend them to our will. I tried to look for this to see if anything like this was actually based on real-life mythology of the Deep South, but I couldn't really find anything. Let me know down below if this is just fiction of the game, or is this actually based on anything? Honestly, I couldn't find anything based on real mythology in this whole game, but maybe I wasn't researching hard enough. We begin to discover our powers by following in the footsteps of a stand-in for Harriet Tubman, which paired with Hazel having an absentee father just felt a little too on the nose for the garbage writing that Kim Belair forces onto companies. So it was about this point in the game I actually googled the creators of this game, and yeah, she helped write this one. I only mention this because as I am no way involved in the whole Gamergate 2 stuff, the writing was so weird and zoomer bait in some places that I guessed that Sweet Baby Inc. was involved before I even looked up the creators. Which sucks because in other places the writing is spot on, yet you can tell in a lot of spots in this game that it's almost as if the writers have a whole other level of potential they could have reached. But either they weren't trying hard enough, or were scared, or being coerced to be as safe as they could. One way that this is evident is in the overall tone of the game. As Hazel progresses through the Harriet Tubman portion of the game, there will be moments of anxiety built up watching the escaped slaves being led through caves. Then immediately, our character finds experience points known as, and I'm not playing, floof. And our character says this.
What's this? Floofy and soft. Everything else around here feels so wrong.
Wow, isn't that so quirky, Chungus? Like, you're following in the footsteps of the equivalent of an ancient sorceress trying to save people from their chains, while also leaving messages for you to find and watch in the future. Have some respect. The tonal problems aren't isolated here. There's a mission later where you're in a beautiful, almost serene swamp, and suddenly you're tossed in a room with hundreds of dead and bloated pigs with little warning, and Hazel is just like, "Ewy, it's so stinky in here." I'm kind of giving mixed signals, so let me paraphrase for you. Basically, the writing is usually good. The first real side story of the game actually got my heartstrings tugged a little bit, the one involving Benji. However, the writing never truly takes off because either Kim Belair ruined it like usual, or in whole, the writing staff was just not understanding the story that they wanted to tell. Is this a serious Mississippi Deep South Gothic mythological type story? Or maybe a vibrant storybook, picturesque campfire story of an 1800s hero of the South. Is it an attempt to do all of that in one shot? I don't know. Again, it's good, serviceable story with some tone and pacing problems. Okay, let's move on to the absolute best of South of Midnight, and that is the soundscape. Oh my god, the writers could take some inspiration from those who were dealing with the audio for this game, because the music, sound effects, combat noises, and ambient critter sounds are perfect. The audio staff were firing on all cylinders for this one. The game almost demands being played with headphones because of the audio mix, especially how well they balance the levels of the music to create a soundscape that'll easily immerse you into the South of Midnight's world. It's funny because it's so good that there's not much else to say besides, it's good, go listen to it. The music is a blend of gospel choir and banjo bayou swamp music, and when the music is more subdued, you're still surrounded with the sounds of frogs, bees, rabbits, foxes, and owls. The sounds of combat are cool too. Hazel makes the same sounds that like the characters from Baldur's Gate 3 or Avowed make when she casts her spells. Almost like a projected booming voice that echoes amongst the trees. Really cool stuff. Another bad thing before we talk about something else good is the traversal and combat. I know these points have been echoed by other reviewers, and while some are over-exaggerating with how bad they are, most reviewers are right. The combat and traversal get real stale really fast. By about chapter 7 of the game, I was starting to get bored and would stop and look at my phone for a few minutes, and the combat literally feels like that, "Okay honey, it's 4 PM, time for your combat session" meme. Like literally, even Hazel starts making snide comments about how she's getting bored. It's like they were writing for a TV show at some point, and suddenly someone wanted it to be a game, so they threw in the most bare bones traversal mechanics. Some people have said it's platforming, even I did at the beginning of this game just for ease of use. But platforming is almost non-existent. While I wanted to give the game credit for having secrets around every corner, once you figure out that in order to go find the secrets, all you have to do is go the opposite way as the clairvoyant "go this way to continue the story" button tells you to go. Then you just hold the run button, sometimes hit jump, sometimes air dash, and sometimes avoid these annoying mushrooms that exist only to slow you down. That's the traversal or platforming. That's about it. I will give it some credit. I get that this game is kind of designed to be played over quite a few sessions, hence the episodic nature of the storytelling, which is also why I wonder if this was supposed to be like a TV show or something. But I think the creators meant for you to kind of like forget what it was like over play sessions, so they wanted to keep it easy or thought they could get away with it, but that's just a complete shot in the dark in good faith. The combat is meh. You have the glowing hooks your characters use as axes to pull off a few simple combos. There's a couple spells that are basically the rock to their scissors, meaning if an enemy is about to snipe you, you hit them with the freeze time ability. If they dash away, you use the pull ability to bring them back. If they throw something at you, you use force push to send it back. There's one ability with your companion named Crouton, again quirky Chungus energy, that allows him to temporarily control the minds of enemies to help you, theoretically meaning that a little bit of tactics are involved in choosing which enemy to gain control of and win. However, this ability is so weak for most of the game, and you only keep them for what feels like, 5 seconds, that it's more effective to use it as a way to basically stun an enemy out of combat for a few seconds than it is to expect any sort of damage to be dealt by Crouton. The combat is not random. You find the enemies in specific spots that are marked in the sky and indicated by these pipple bubble zones. If you count 4 combat zones in the sky, it usually means there's a couple others scattered throughout, and suddenly combat feels like a checklist when starting a new zone. Like, it really feels as if the video game designers put these combat encounters in because this is a video game, and sometimes video games have combat, so I guess we gotta do it too. I'm not really sure how I would have done it better. One suggestion that I think would have kept the players less exhausted was not to tell us how many combat encounters we needed to complete an objective as soon as we enter a new zone or story beat. Fold them in a little more naturally into the progression of the level as opposed to just plopping 6 encounters down and building a zone around them. Another thing that I would have done different is there needs to be some sort of punishment for dying. Whether you die while exploring or die in combat, you're instantly loaded back to where you just were, with no repercussion at all. Or If there is one, I haven't really noticed because I've only died like 3 times. If anything, it's kind of a treat to die because you get to see this sweet animation. So that leads me to the visuals and animation, but first, hit that like and subscribe buttons, and if you played South of Midnight, let me know down below what you thought of the game. So I'm gonna come out and say it, Hazel is a cutie patootie, and the animation team did a great job at making her expressive during cutscenes, and her animations throughout the game are on point. Same with the rest of the cast, and especially the animals. The characters and animals were given this stop motion treatment, and I think it turned out great. The stop motion puppet style mixes perfectly with the deep south Gothic Mississippi Rivercore aesthetic, and I really hope to see this done in future with other games and genres as well. Overall, the graphics are gorgeous. I can really feel the humidity and mosquitoes in the forests, and the fields of yellow sunflowers bathed in a holy light from the sky are jaw-dropping. Everything is stylized, and the designers took some tasteful liberties to create a picturesque Louisiana visual style. I love it to death. Again, if this was a TV show, I think it would be praised far beyond what it is being praised now. There are only some graphical stupidities. Like for example, the reflections in the water are based only on what is loaded onto the scene, including things in the foreground, so you'll get things behind your back reflecting off the water's surface, and the vistas actively disappear out of the water if it's outside of your computer monitor's line of sight, if that kind of makes any sense. It wouldn't be a huge problem if 30% of the play area wasn't swamps, lakes, and rivers. There's other oddities too, like sometimes random flower bushes just refuse to load in until you are basically standing inside of them, but it won't ruin your gaming experience. Other than that, I had no graphical problems with any upscaling, ghosting, or artifacting, or screen tearing, or anything like that. I would argue that this is what a game is supposed to look and perform like. Stylized and optimized to run buttery smooth while not trying to reach the highest levels of photorealism or needing the most high-end gaming rig to run at 60 frames. I don't know, just a personal opinion there. Let me know if you agree. This might be a controversial take, but I don't think every game needs to be an 8 or a 9 or a 10 out of 10. There's nothing wrong with a game just being a nice short stylized romp through a decent story and decent gameplay. However, with South of Midnight, I felt like there was so much more potential beyond being such a perfect 7 out of 10. If the writing and combat matched the prowess of the audio and visuals, then there could have been an incredible hit on their hands. Whether it was purposefully sabotaged by Kim Belair, or the rest of the writing team decided to just phone it in, was so disappointing, as there were so many places they could have gone and heights that they could have soared with such an incredibly unique setting. I feel the same way about the combat and traversal teams. It's almost like they were an afterthought, when that feels like backwards philosophy to build a game on. But in the end, I feel like you will get your money's worth if you buy the game for 40 bucks. Even better if you catch it on sale. But mainly this game was created to be played on and to sell Xbox Game Pass, and it shows. One more time here at the end, it's a good game with obvious flaws. So if you can overlook that or are looking for a fresh and unique setting, then you're gonna like South of Midnight. I'm a little late on this video. I feel like people have already moved far beyond this game, but I've been a little demotivated to hurry this one out because YouTube has completely nuked my channel. My last 2 videos didn't break 1,000 impressions combined, when usually I break 20 to 90,000 impressions per video, even on ones that aren't topical. Usually my click-through rate is very solid, ranging from 5 to 10%, even on my new videos, so I have no idea why they've been thrown into the ditch. I have one single video with a bad like to dislike ratio, and I think that might be what's causing YouTube to put me on ice, but we will see. All this to say, I'm going to try harder on my next few videos and see what happens. Wish me luck. Ropeburn out.